This week's episode of After the Pull, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to have a single Marvel comic book to talk about. You can thank comic book delivery delays for that one. However, the show's got to go on. Hey, my webheads, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, I'm your host, Mike Spider Slayer, always helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy. And today, guys, I'm bringing you another episode of After the Poll. That's right, guys, this is the video series where each and every week I share with you some of my most anticipated comic books that I was looking forward to, and if they lived up to that hype. So this week, my comic books are late. I still don't have all my comic books, but I wanted to share with you what I read so far. So we're going to be discussing a lot of BatMan today, but before we get started, if you guys want to help support the channel, hit that join button right there on my home screen. Guys, it does help support the channel. Like I said, it gives you, the viewer, some extra perks. And with that being said, guys, let's kick off this episode of After the Poll. All right, comic fans, let's address the big shark in the room. And the first book we're going to be talking about is Suicide Squad King Shark. This is issue 1 of 6. Now, this book, guys, is something that I was on the fence to begin with, and I can honestly tell you that after reading this first issue of King Shark, I will not be continuing to read it anymore. This is a book that I just have no interest in. It has a plot line of King Shark, going back to his family, and this adventure that he's going on is with Defacer, the person that, creates graffiti all over the place where she goes. The artwork in this book is just absolutely not what I was anticipating. I thought this would be a much more gruesome or maybe violent comic book. Instead, it is a lot more cartoony, and even though it's a comic book and sometimes you look for artwork like that, for me, it just didn't fit this book. And with this issue, there was just a lot of explaining going on when it came to, setting up the plot, right? It just took a long time to get to where it needed to get to. And by the time you wind up getting to the end of this book, you're kind of like, well, you know what? Why do I care about this little adventure that King Shark is going on? It was just definitely a disappointment. I couldn't get attached to the Defacer character. I couldn't get attached to King Shark. I don't care about his family. And by the time we wind up going to the end of this, it has to do with the Red. And there's this tournament of champions with all the creatures that were within the Red. I don't know. It felt like it was trying to be a Robin knockoff, if you ask me. So this is something that I just definitely wouldn't recommend. There's definitely much other books that are out there that are better than this. Remember, this is 6 issues. I'm not giving it an issue 2. All right, guys, so the next book we're going to be talking about is a strange one. And when the first trade comes out of this and you have not read it yet, I definitely say go ahead and pick this up. This book is called Bunny Mask, and this is issue 4. This is about a counselor and a sheriff investigating this young girl's father who was very abusive, that was murdering people in these caves. He completely gone insane. He claims that it was the snitch, and that has all these voices in his head that are committing these murders. And years has gone by. The girl that was traumatized by this has grown up. The counselor and her have this type of relationship, but things have gotten kind of crazy once again. The Bunny Mask character comes out of nowhere. The snitch is getting in the counselor's head and the sheriff's head, and they're trying to solve this crime because supposedly the girl that survived this event, it's not really that girl. She's actually dead in that cave. And this issue is just, oh my God, it's so weird, man. It's so crazy. But the Bunny Mask character is so mysterious, and yet she's seductive, but yet a little evil. And you don't know which side she's on, if she's the good side or the bad side. And in this issue, you're also introduced to the snitch. And by the time you get to the end of this comic book, it is the end of the first story arc, and so it's going to continue in 2022. It is such a good read. The art is just dark, and again, you just want to know more about the Bunny Mask character because she's just so mysterious. And it's a great book. I definitely say go out there and recommend it. I have a feeling that this book definitely reads better in trade. So when it does come out, I think you're going to be in for a great treat. So this is a definite recommend. So all my webheads out there are actually going to be happy that I went and took the time to read this comic book. And this one goes to Catwoman issue 35. Yes, I finally read an issue of it, and not even realizing that it connected to the whole Fear State storyline. So for me, it was actually a really good jumping on point. And I get that we're not with the same artist in this title. However, I did like the artwork and I did like the coloring in this book. And you want to talk about like a seductive cover, like look at those eyes in that cover. I mean, it's so good, right? But again, the coloring is what really made this book for me, and I love the way Selina Kyle looked in this issue. I thought she looked amazing, and what this book really did a good job with, even though I did not read the last story arc, is that it really concluded the story arc that happened right before Fear State's going on. So it looks like Selina Kyle is sending off her sister, which I didn't know that she actually had. So she disappears, and then right away it dives into the whole magistrate situation, Fear State, Scarecrow. You know, she gets a message about BatMan being missing or possibly murdered, and she doesn't believe that, so she takes off and she goes down and to go ahead and meet BatMan. So here's some more of that artwork in there, and to see if he's actually alive or dead or whatnot. And so it was kind of a quite interesting comic book. I enjoyed it, and I feel like this is definitely a good jumping on point for me because I can read everything that's going on in Fear State and then kick off the next story arc. We have a little bit to do with Poison Ivy here. This is the other form. This is not Queen Ivy or Dark Ivy. This is just a story about how she's just kind of beneath Gotham City and she's just different right now. We see some action with her defeating these magistrate, peacekeeper troops and whatnot. And then she's teaming up with this mysterious character, and I'm not familiar of who she is. I guess I have to read the run to figure out who she is. But if you guys want to let me know in the comments below on who that character is, just let me know. And they're trying to figure out who is this fake Oracle, right? I think that's been the thing of what's been going on in Fear State right now. And by the time you get to the end of it, you wind up seeing the Gardener and Harley Quinn in there. So, yeah, pretty good. I mean, it wasn't, again, it ties into Fear State. So you can only get so much out of it. But like I said, it's a perfect jumping on point since I understand what's going on in the Batman universe right now. So, obviously, longtime readers of Catwoman are going to want to continue this book. And new-time readers, this is a perfect time to jump on board. Okay, so another independent book that I did read, I had an advanced copy of it, was Radiant Black. I'm trying to remember the issue number that we're on that. Not 100% sure. I don't know if it's issue 8 or whatever the case may be. But our story continues here with our Radiants. They're actually doing battle against the character by the name of Glitch. And we find out that this character is quite powerful and that he actually gets his powers from the other Radiants. That's how he charges up, because he really got the piss beat out of him in the last issue. But again, you learn that in this issue that he charges up from the other characters, which I thought was interesting take on that character. Also, this book's artwork is absolutely amazing. There's times where that character Glitch is literally all trippy. His dialogue is trippy. He makes you see double, and it's like when you're reading that comic book, you're like, gotta rub your eyes a little bit, and it's pretty awesome. Now, does a lot happen in this story? No, not really. It doesn't really progress the plot all that much, but we learn a little bit more about Radiant Black, about what his power is. Like, when they were fighting Glitch, he literally had a arm come out of his body and put Glitch into his own body. So I don't even know what happened there. And then you get to see a little confrontation between some of the other Radiants, because they're still learning how to work together. So I thought this book was interesting. Again, it doesn't really progress the plot all that much, but it is great to see that action and then get to see, these characters come together to fight this common threat. If you have not read Radiant Black yet, I'd say go ahead, pick up that first trade. I think it covers the first 6 issues, and then you can pick up issue 7 in this issue, and then you're good to go, guys. All right, guys, so the next book we're going to be talking about is Nightwing issue 84. This is the continuation, again, of our Fear State coverage here when it comes to this week's After the Poll, and Tom Taylor's been doing a bang-up job when it comes to this book. I mean, it's so well written, and the artwork has been really good. But for this Fear State, tie-in books, we're getting a different artist. This is Robbie Rodriguez, and let me tell you, the artwork is just not the same. It just doesn't hit on all cylinders like it does. Like, you get pointy noses, pointy chins, like weird looking hair. I'm just not a fan of this artwork. I mean, especially like when you're used to an artist on a particular book for a while and then all of a sudden they change it. Yeah, it's just not my, cup of tea, I guess you could say. There is a couple of cool scenes in here where you get to see Dick team up with Bruce, which I thought was kind of cool, where he's swooping in to kind of save the day against him battling some magistrate troopers, right? So I thought that was cool. And when it comes to the comic book itself, it was neat to see them team up and fight each other. There was a couple like emotional moments in this book where Batman does call Dick his son, which I thought was really emotional, kind of tugged at the heartstring just for a second there, and you're just like, oh dude, that was really cool of Bruce. I mean, this is 2 issues in a row where he's actually like halfway nice, so I thought that was neat. Then you actually get the beginning of this issue where we see Dick, who actually has to leave Bloodhaven, and he has to leave Haley in care with the neighbors, right? They have to take care of the dog, and I thought that was kind of cool as well, showing that he does have responsibility for his pet, but just as quick as he has Bloodhaven under his belt to take care of, he's got to leave and go deal with this whole magistrate stuff, So really, we just get a lot of, talking back and forth between Dick and Bruce, and about the whole situation again with Oracle not being Oracle. There's a fake one out there causing all these bad messages. And so Dick meets up with Barbara, and Barbara's like, you know what? I'm done, being on the sidelines. I need to get in my bat suit. And Dick's kind of like, no, you can't do that. You're like on the verge of like being completely paralyzed for life. And Barbara's like, that's too bad, man, because you know what? Now I'm going to get dressed and we're going to go fight this together. And she dons a new costume, and it's quite interesting. Now, again, I'm not a fan of the artwork in this book and the coloring. Everything's real dark and shadowy. So you can't get a real understanding of like what this costume would be like as a different artist, right? But here's Barbara's new costume in case you haven't seen it yet already. And if you notice, she's got this big staff. Does she use it as a cane as well to help her stand better? It's obviously maybe a new weapon, but with the shadows and her kind of arching forward, it makes her look like she's an old like lady, like obviously paralyzed and she can't stand right, so it's kind of off, but nevertheless, it gets you excited that Babs is going out in the field again with Dick. And I think out of anything that you get from this book, it's going to be the team up between those two in this title. And that's pretty much what Tom Taylor has done really well with this book, is that he's had these characters from the Bat family team up. Like he's had Tim Drake, and Barbara's already been there. So he continues that even though Fear State is going on. So I'm definitely looking forward to future issues of this. And this is one of the tie-ins that I'll be continuing to read. Okay, guys, and the final book we're going to be talking about today is BatMan, issue 113, the continuation of the Fear State main story. And let me just tell you, out of all the Bat books I did read, or Bat family books, this was my least favorite one, right? I just don't feel like the story is progressing all that much. It's really like a decompressed story. And we just get more explanation about Scarecrow and his Fear State plans and how he's had these plans since he was in college. And it's like, okay, that's great, but do we need like 3 pages of him explaining everything that's going on? Jorge Jimenez's artwork, though, is just top notch. I mean, it is spectacular. You can't deny that, you know? And again, I said it last time, if he stays on Batman after Tynion leaves, that's a good thing. I think DC needs to do that because this is definitely a really good selling point when it comes to this title, right? Look at the panels. I mean, all of the characters are so dynamic. It's just the colors flow off the pages. And hey, man, we even get Batman in this issue with a VR set, which I thought was kind of hysterical. And the technology, it's made out of boom tubes, which I thought was funny, you know? So there's definitely some decent moments in this book, but they're just so far and few between. And we just get like 2 pages of them explaining how the VR works, and then we get 2 pages of Scarecrow again explaining what's going on with Fear State. There was some moments again with Ghostmaker and Bruce on how he's in his mind and he's like checking out all his relationships with like Poison Ivy and Harley and not Harley with Catwoman, and it was just kind of awesome, you know. But yeah, there just wasn't all that much in here that I really enjoyed. And I'm just kind of disappointed with it. Now, does it mean that I'm going to stop reading this book? No, absolutely not. I think it's definitely going to pick up. I think it's going to end very solidly. And then we're going to move on when it comes to Batman. You know, I wish we got a little bit more of Magistrate, or I'm sorry, Peacekeeper 1 and Peacekeeper X doing a little bit more of a battle, but we didn't see too much of that until the very end of the book. And then, of course, you get the Clown Hunter story at the very end, which honestly I don't care about either. And so you're paying that extra dollar or so for that additional story that maybe a lot of people don't really care about. But when it comes to Batman Fear State right now, it's just 3 issues of pretty much the same thing. I like the story. I like the concept. Let's just move forward a little bit with it, right? Stop stalling so much. So we'll see how it continues. Guys, so those are all the books I read so far for this particular comic book week. Hopefully I can get the rest of my books this particular weekend. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss any content from me, guys. And if you like what you see here, I'm going to leave you more content right there, so you can click on it. And of course, guys, keep buying, keep collecting, and as always, most importantly, keep reading those comic books. Take care, guys. I'll see you on that next video. Bye.